everyone. Okay, so right out of the gate, one takeaway I really got to talk about from this chapter is how Vegapunk's life is truly marked by the phrase "good intentions are only carved through a road of blood." Because Vegapunk created, when you really look at what's revealed in this chapter, Vegapunk created the Mother Flame with the intent of supplying the world with an unlimited source of energy. And don't get me wrong, he did succeed. He very much succeeded in his goal. The problem is very much the same he's had from the moment he chose to work with the government, which is he underestimated how far they'd be willing to go. And very much in that context, learning that the Mother Flame was actually used as fuel to power an ancient weapon the government has in their possession, yeah, it's kind of the worst case scenario wrapped up in a nice little bow. Like everything you can imagine that could have gone wrong, everything that he was hoping to try to prevent, he was hoping wouldn't happen, happened. And the question is, now obviously with this reveal though, the question is which of the weapons is in the government's possession. And for my money, I'm betting that the weapon in question is Uranus, because from what we know so far about Pluton and Poseidon, it can't be either one of those, because Pluton is Shirahoshi, and Shirahoshi is very much safe and living on Fishman Island, and Pluton is literally underneath Wano. So, but also, if you remember, Uranus from lore is considered the personification of the sky. So that in itself kind of fits the whole thing of the government calling down destructive blasts of energy from the sky, so it would make sense in that regard that this weapon probably is Uranus. And with that said, the beginning of this chapter really does hammer home the idea that there is some connection, I think, between the Nefertari and Emu. The part about the latter truly being Lily is still very much up in the air, and it's this is the one thing I think Oda really needs to kind of step up the pace on in terms of giving us an answer, like what is this connection. But even saying that, the way this chapter is framed, I think in itself also definitely indicates, at bare minimum, there is a connection between the Nefertari and this weapon that the government possesses. Like, if this weapon is Uranus, I wouldn't be surprised if long time ago it was actually Uranus was actually a weapon that was entrusted to pretty much the Nefertari family. At least that's what I'm thinking based on this. Now, with that said, we do gotta talk about the other big reveal of this chapter, which is that Vegapunk, reveals all to the world that the Roger pirates are the only ones to have ever truly learned what happened in the Void Century, which is something we as the reader, of course, know from Rayleigh's confession to the crew all the way back in Sab Aori, and from what we learned in Wano of Odin's about Odin's past and his time sailing with Roger. So we know all of that because of those events. But my biggest takeaway from this as well is that the former members of Roger's crew that we know to be alive are going to be taking much more of the spotlight going forward. And I think this in itself is also Oda's way of confirming that to us as the reader, that at bare minimum, there's still going to be one more of Roger's crew that we're still going to meet after this arc. And I think it is likely to be Skopper Gaben. Now, as far as context of such a meeting, I think even after everything Vegapunk does reveal, there's still going to be that final little tiny piece of information to kind of make it all fit together. And Gabon likely does have that final piece of information that everyone needs. And yeah, Rayleigh laying his head on the table, passed out drunk, saying, "Don't rob the young ones of all the fun," while mentioning Roger, yeah, it definitely shows that they definitely know more than Rayleigh initially let on. Also, on a much lighter and sweeter note, we get an exchange between Edison and Stussy in this chapter, with Edison telling her to get off Egghead and save herself, with her requesting that she be allowed to free Kaku and escape with him. And I do like how this little moment does show that for however much her being part of CP0 was a cover, she did still form a genuine connection with at least one person, which is Kaku. And that in its own way, I think, does show a reflection on both Kaku and Stasi's characters, that they're both people who never truly have been able to do what they wanted to with their life. They've always been tethered down to either the government or to their own responsibilities to Vegapunk in Stasi's case, and they've never like truly been able to live their lives like as was shown obviously in Eni's lobby. Like if like despite him being an assassin, Kaku genuinely did back then, and I think even still does want to be did find his calling in being a shipwright. It's just that unfortunately he kind of had to betray the people he felt right at home and being around with. But okay, let's talk about one of the bigger moments of the chapter as well, which is that York reveals the source of Vegapunk's transmission is the Iron Giant itself, or according to the translation I read, the transponder snail is under the protection of the Iron Giant. But I think regardless of which translation it is, I think the genuine feel you get from this is that, yeah, the Iron Giant is basically the transponder snail, is basically the one who's transmitting all of this itself. And so, which in itself probably means that Vegapunk had to retool the Giant to transmit his message and the likelihood of his death. Of course, no matter the context, the real question is, was the Giant built to last? Because if what York is telling them does turn out to be true, then yeah, this whole thing might be cut a little short. But on the flip side, I also can't help feel that the elders and the government in general might be a little too late to stop all this, in the sense where even if the elders stop Vegapunk's transmission and then try to spin things in their favor, the truth of the matter is Vegapunk has done enough damage that at bare minimum has sown the seeds of doubt within the populace. Even if the elders do actually succeed in stopping the transmission, I think their usual tactics of trying to cover things up just aren't going to work. And I don't think they've realized we've already crossed that threshold where for them it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. And no matter what happens, they're not getting out of this unscathed like they normally do. And because of that, while there's been a lot of theories about the elders dying in this arc, part of me wants them to survive now, just to see them weather the storm and the fallout from all this. Part of me feels that they might die, don't get me wrong, but part of me also says, I want to see how they react to all of this and to any of the blowback that happens from this. I can't help feel that this is that for better or worse, for better or worse, no matter what happens to them, they are going to have to weather a storm of some sorts that they can't just sweep under the rug, as it were. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, be sure to spell the subscribe button, and just sit there, and guys, Dark Knight of signing off. Later, everyone.